Having shot Dan and Alicia in the gym and having produced the video to show you how I did that, I thought it would be useful just to produce a little short video showing you how I did one of the workups. And particularly because it uses one of my favourite plugins, a little piece of software for producing reflections that is simply superb in my opinion. So here's the image that we're going to work up, and it comes from this original image that we shot in the gym. I will have done the original initial adjustments in Lightroom. I'll have adjusted the colour balance. I've shot with a grey card, so I'll have adjusted the colour balance accordingly, and I'll probably just hit the auto button in Lightroom just to let Lightroom do its stuff and adjust the brightness and contrast and so on. But now we're over into Photoshop. And just so that you don't wonder when I'm pressing buttons down this side, this is called the TK Action Panel, and it's a little plugin. You can download it free. The paid version is only $20, but the free version will do everything you're going to see in this video. That's the TK Action Panel, short for Tony Kuiper. Okay, so here's the image. So the first thing that we need to do is cut this original image out off the background, and to do that I'm going to use the Quick Select tool here in Photoshop, and anyone who's not used the latest version of Photoshop, or maybe on CS6 or a version a few years old, they really have improved this facility, this cutout facility. And I would wholeheartedly recommend, if you do use Photoshop, that you get the Creative Cloud version. It's only about £8 a month nowadays, because for this facility alone it's actually worth the money. Anyway, we've gone to the Quick Select, and I'm just going to hit Select Subject, simple as that. And Photoshop goes away and does its stuff and puts a selection around. And as you can see, in a matter of seconds, it's put a really good selection around this image of Dan. And I knew it would put a good one around him because of course there's good contrast off the background. What we're going to do now is just zoom in and check it's done a decent job. So I just press Z on my keyboard and just zoom in. And now using the space, I've got these user programmable keys down the side of my Wacom tablet, and one of them I've programmed to be the space bar. So using the space bar, we just move around the image. It's missed a little bit there, can you see? So we go back to Quick Select tool, adjust the size of the tool. I can do that with this ring here, and I want to turn it negative because it's included a bit of black there. So I press the Alt key and that turns it into a negative. Just touch like that. You're just giving Photoshop a clue, really, giving it an extra bit of help. Back to the space bar and moving around, and just quickly move around the image. I know that this doesn't have to be actually super accurate selection, because I know I'm going to actually put him back on a black background, so that, you know, therefore if I miss a little bit it's not too important. But you can actually see that Photoshop's done a pretty remarkable job. It's got a bit of floor there, look. Same again, press the Alt key. If I make this bigger, can you see it? By pressing the Alt key it goes negative. In other words, subtract from selection. Down, smaller, press the Alt key and just touch there, give Photoshop a clue. And back to space bar, background, and back to where we started. And I always do that, move around in a clockwise fashion, just so I know I've not missed anything. Make the image full size again, and then click Select and Mask up here. And Photoshop creates another screen. You can make the background whatever you want. I've chosen to make it red just so that it stands out. And Photoshop's now saying, this is what I'm going to select, are you okay? And you can make some refinements here. Used to be called Refine Edge in previous versions of Photoshop. These are my settings. I keep them standard all the while. I've messed about with this quite a lot, but you know, I don't find any of these settings make a great deal of difference for a standard selection. There might be selections where it does. But this is the important one. I've always got it to output to new layer with layer mask, and I click OK. And Photoshop does its stuff, and there we are. We've got a selection look on a background. If I click the background layer, there we are, where we're back, and we've got a selection on a layer. We've got it on a layer with a layer mask. That's quite important, and I'll show you why in a minute. Right, now I know that what we want to do is put down on a black background. So in my Photoshop library, I've got documents, so for black and for white. So here we are, it's just a standard black document, and I've set it up to be the same resolution as my camera. So in other words, it's the same size and the same resolution as a full frame image off of my Canon 5D Mark IV. And I just go create. And there we are. That's all that's happened. Look, Photoshop's just given us a plain black screen, a plain black layer, sorry. So we go back to the selection there. Sorry, not that one. Back to the original. There we go. We go back to the document where the selection's on, and it's as simple as this. Look, we just select the layer with the selection on, pick it up, drag it onto the tab where the plain background is, bring it down and drop it. And there we go. As simple as that. Dan's in place. Now, I need him smaller than that. I know that because I know how the reflection plugin's going to work. So I need him smaller than that. So my tool of choice for resizing and moving cutouts is Free Transform. So edit, Free Transform, puts a bounding box around him. I can now make him smaller and I can put him exactly where I want him. And as I say, I know because of the way this plugin software works that I need it to have plenty of canvas to work on. So I'm going to make him quite small, and there he is. Now at this stage I would actually zoom in and just check that my selection is correct. And the beauty of this is, of selecting him, bringing him in with a layer mask, is as we go round, if we find a little bit where it's not selected it properly, I'm not sure, is there a little bit here where his foot is? Because we're on a layer mask here, if we go to that layer mask, we're on a layer with a layer mask, sorry. If we go to that layer mask, select the layer mask, and then we select a white brush at 100, we'll put it 100% opacity, 100% flow, resize it. If we paint on the layer mask in white, what's going to happen is we're going to paint some of the background back in. And as you can see, it actually did do a good job of selecting him. So Photoshop has actually, it's putting a little bit back in there. You can see this is the advantage of bringing it in with a layer mask. You've still got the original here. This is the original image here. It's just been, all the backgrounds have been masked out by the mask. So if you've made a bad selection, you've got a chance to put it right. And at this point I'd go around, has it missed a bit there? What? Yeah, can you see that? Can you see? Suddenly I can recover the bit that it's missed. And I always do this, always make my selections and bring it in with a layer mask. There's a bit, I think it'll put a bit back in there. Do you see that? Going back in. And you can imagine if you select in hair and things like that, this is really useful. And this is where if we make the brush a bit bigger, and I'm now going to make the opacity a bit less, and I'm going to go around with a nice, make sure my brush is fully soft, which it is, and I'm going to go around the edge of his hair. And what it'll do is bring in little bits of stray hair. Because what we're doing now is we're actually reselecting, we're drawing on the mask, and it's the original image coming in. But because he was on a black background, of course, it's fine. And as I say, that's why this is a dream to select, because it was I'm selecting off of a background and putting it back on a black background. Much different, obviously, if you're putting it on a different coloured background. This would be very typical of how it would work. There's a bit it's missed, look, I reckon. Let's go back to make the brush harder, semi-hard. Let's go back to 100% flow. Let's just draw on that bit there. There you go, you can just see it. But it's made, as you can see, it's made a pretty stunning job of. Now this will be a good bit to show you, look. So here, can you see, we've got some of the floor in. We don't want the floor. So now we select a black brush, and we go round the edge and we just draw out the floor. Can you see? Absolutely brilliant way of making selections. And it's missed a bit of his toe. So now we want a white brush. Change to a white brush and we can draw back in, look, the little bit it's missed. I'm glad I found a bit where it hadn't done a good job to be able to show you the power of bringing it in on a mask. And take your time, get a really best selection you possibly can. Go around again, space bar, And you can see how easy and intuitive it is to whisk around with this Wacom tablet. There we go. I'm happy with that. Okay, make it full size again. Now at this point, very important, save your document, because at any point, you know, Photoshop could crash. So I'm going to go save as, and I'm going to call this, it'll be saving it back into the same folder that it came out of in Lightroom, and I'm going to call this demo just because. There we go. Oh, it already exists, so I'm going to call it, yeah, I will say yes, replace it, because it was a demo I did earlier, and I go yes. And now Photoshop's saving down here, look, and when I get a document open like this, the more I've worked on it, the more often I save. So I'll save every 3 or 4 minutes, because I do not want Photoshop crashing and losing all my work. And I've got one of these programmable keys here, program for save. So as I'm working along, I just press that, save. And Photoshop's great, you can carry on working while it's saving in the background. But I do that because you might have invested a lot of time into this image by this stage. You don't want to lose it due to a crash. Okay, we come to the fun bit. What we're going to do now is we're going to use the plugin, the Flood plugin. But to do that, it has to work on a full, what's called a pixel layer. So I'm going to do this button here, which is merge visible, and it's merged the cutout of Dan and the background into one pixel based layer. So now it's done that, I go filter, flaming pear, flood 2, and it's going to pull the plugin in, and it's pulled it on the other screen, and here's the plugin interface. You find it dead easy on the internet. Flaming Pear is the company, and the particular plugin you're after is Flood 2. I think it's $50 or $60, something like that. It is absolutely superb. I do a lot of work in swimming pools, creating real reflections. To be honest with you, I can't do it as well as I can do it with, you know, it's just harder in the swimming pool than it is with this thing. Superb piece of software for making reflections. So here we go, here's the interface, and the first thing it asks us to do, where do you want the reflection to be based? You know, where do you want it to start? Where do you want the water to be? And we want it to be as if he's standing on water, or I've chosen that. So all we do is we alter this slider here, and there you go. Now you can see, as we come in, we have to fine tune it, and maybe just a little bit more. Time I get to this fine tuning stage, I usually start using the keyboard. See if that does it. And it's moved it just slightly, and you know what, I think 57 was right, wasn't it? So I'm going to make it 57 again, and there we are, we've got it reflecting just as if his toes standing on the water. Now we can alter how the reflection looks. We can go down here to the wave style, and this is called a simple wave style. We can make it complex, and you can see there's different waves, and then we can change how wavy it is. You can see now it's starting to create little troughs and peaks. This is the amount of complexity in the wave. This is how shiny the wave is. So you can see there's all manner of effects. But for this particular image, I just want a very simple reflection, because you know the drama's in Dan, isn't it? So I'm going to use the simple analog, and I'm going to make it a lot simpler wave. Make it a lot less complex, and there we go. That you will know in your mind the kind of effect you're after, but you can see how easy it is. Up here you can alter the angle of view, so in other words, how high above the water are you looking down, because clearly if you look along the water the reflection looks different to if you're 6 feet above it or whatever. And if you notice, you can change this, and look, it's changed completely the way the wave looks. But can you see how intuitive it is? It's all working in real time, and you just mess about until you get a look that you like. And I'm going to go for something like that, because I say I don't want this to be too complex. This isn't about the reflection. The reflection is just there to add just a little bit of extra interest to this image. When you get something you like, this one down here, by the way, allows you to actually drop something in the water and create concentric circles around it. You place this pointer here where you want the thing dropped in, and then it will create concentric circles. We don't want to do that this time. So let's assume that's right. Looking at that, I think it is slightly above his toe. So I'm actually going to go 57.2. Try that. And I think that's probably better. And then I just go OK, and Flood's going to go away and do its stuff. It's doing quite a lot of mathematic computing here, so it takes quite a while. And this is a pretty powerful machine, and it still takes 3, 4, 5 seconds to do its stuff. So obviously if you've got a slightly slower machine, it's going to take a bit longer. But what it's doing is really complicated. But there you go, in it comes, simple as that. And as you can see, we didn't quite get it right, did we? And obviously I would have spent a bit more time in Flood getting that absolutely so it touched. But I think you can see pretty quickly we've got a pretty powerful image there. Or at least we've added some interest to the image. Now it's just a case of cropping it. I go to my crop tool in Photoshop and I decide what shape I want to use. It's bought in, I've got the square crop here. Does that work? No, not really. There's too much. I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's pull these edges in a little bit and see. The thing is, it's got to be all about Dan. It's not about the reflection. The reflection's just there to add a little bit of interest, isn't it? I think actually, on looking at this, I think a portrait is going to work best. So I'll go 1 to 1.33 portrait. Make it just a little bit bigger, just so you see a bit more of the reflection. I work in thirds an awful lot, so the rule of thirds really, I think, works. So I naturally, if you notice that, naturally, without even thinking about it, just because that's the way I work, I've got him aligned on 1/3. I've got my Photoshop grid set up in thirds as well. You can set these grids up how you like. And if you notice, I just because I've done it so long now, and it's the way I tend to crop, I've put him on the third there, and I've put the reflection on the third from the bottom. I really do like thirds. I think it works really well, and I'd be fairly happy with that. Click accept, and there we go. I'll make it full size, and there we go. So we've taken a fairly static image taken against a black background and made it slightly interesting. At this point I would start and work on Dan a little bit. I would zoom in, I would dodge and burn on his costume here, his fighting costume, probably take these creases out here, the new tool, take this shine off of his face and so on. So I'd now start working on Dan to perfect the image of Dan. But as you can see, the basic construction of the image is a really quick thing to do, and the Flood 2 program makes it really simple to get a good reflection. Okay, thank you.